entering the agenda number 6, which is international cooperation and possible establishment of the Center of Excellence of Creative Economy. In this particular agenda, we're going to have as a lead speaker, Mr. Nicholas Boschot, Senior Advisor to UN Habitat and founding principal and co-owner of Renaissance Urban. While as a speaker, as the expert speaker, we will have Mr. Hari Santosa Sungkari, Deputy for Infrastructure of Bekraf, Mr. Chandra Negara, Director of External Affairs Bekraf, and Dr. Marissa Henderson from UNCTAD. Without further ado, I would like to give a floor to Mr. Nicholas Boschot as the lead speaker. You have the floor.
Yes,
Nicholas.
Mr. Chair, thank you so much. Please have a seat so that we can start. This is the last round of discussions in our dense agenda of today. I would like to start with a few simple and broad considerations of where we are, because this session and the one which will be following are now the core of today's agenda. That is how to move on after we have met today in the context of this Friends of Creative Economy conference, and what recommendations should be shared with the ministers tomorrow in terms of future roadmap for implementing a global effort showcasing the creative economy. So this is very important. And at first, during our session, we have an hour, half an hour in fact. We have about half an hour, 30 minutes, to talk about the establishment of a Center of Excellence for Creative Economy. So what is a Center of Excellence for Creative Economy? What would make it possible, and how are important questions, and then we will go on the Bali Declaration on Creative Economy with Marissa Anderson. So these are very important two segments of 30 minutes, and I would really like anyone who wants to be apart from our speakers, to really join the discussion. Can we start back with the presentation, the first illustration, please? So let's not, we are talking about serious issues, right? But let's not take ourselves too much seriously. Big names, big words, Center of Excellence for Creative Economy, it looks very serious. But on the other hand, we have heard in the morning and in the afternoon that creative economy is not just about governments and experts, but also about creative minds and creators and artists. So we really need to have this in mind when talking about any kind of Center of Excellence or governance of the creative economy. Next, please. The second issue we need to really consider when thinking about a Center of Excellence is that we all know now that we are both local and not just global, but working in networks. Like if we were to make a round table of who is belonging to what kind of networks in this room, I'm sure that we would have a number of networks even greater than the number of persons in that room. So how to position, and you can see Bali even somewhere on this map of connecting flows, how to establish a Center of Excellence in a world that is constantly moving through flows and networks. How should it be positioned? Is it a location? Is it a place? Is it a name? Is it real? Is it physical? Is it virtual? All those questions are around the table, and I would say, in my view, it should be something very dynamic and apt to really move and prosper in a world of networks and flows, but also uncertainties. Can we see the next one? This question comes also at a time that after like 20 years of constant push of urban growth, but also digital growth, which has been even faster, you can see here on this graph. And at a very particular moment of recent history, you've got as many, maybe they're not the same, but you have as many urban dwellers in the world, over 4 billion, right? As internet users, over 4 billion too, right? So this makes a tremendous chamber of echo for anything. Doesn't make action more easy, but we need really to consider also not just displays and networks, but how to be sustainable in such a digital environment. And considering also that really we have unprecedented capacities to shape or influence decision-making processes than ever before. Next one. An important aspect also, and it has been mentioned several times during the day, is how to consider creativity and creative economy without forgetting about inclusiveness. This is the core of the conference, and how to use it to respond to a more and more divided world, right? If it's just about technology without inclusion, if it is having millennials enjoying cocktails where there are migrants and refugees on the other hand, this just doesn't work, but I'm not sure we know how to make such a society work, right? And there are some substantial issues that should be part also of the roadmap of any attempt to build a center of excellence. Not just celebration, but also working on serious subjects and matters as these ones. Next one and last one. Also, if there is a center of excellence, there is a little bit of literature already. We have mentioned that. There is the chair summary from the first meeting last year, a year ago in Bandung. There is the outcome of the Jakarta meeting, PrepCom meeting 2 in May. There is what you have, again, I'm saying that on the table. You've got more literature coming from UNESCO, it has been mentioned, coming from UNCTAD, it has been mentioned also. But if there is a center of excellence, will there be also a manifest for the creative economy that can nurture it, a process that could gather, as we have seen today, from various scales and various locations, examples, not just best practices, but examples, intentions. Well, I think it would be wise also to think about how to nurture the process of establishing a center of excellence for the creative economy by gathering bits and pieces of literature that could nurture it in the long run. So that's it for this introductory part. Just wanted to share a few thoughts with you. And now we will have the opportunity to share the floor with Harry Santosa from BECRAF, Sandra Negara from BECRAF, and Marisa Henderson from UNCTAD. So we really are here talking with experts which are at the core of the machine. But Mr. Chair, I have also received a couple of requests from other participants to be able to share a few comments, and I think it will be interesting because there are also some proposals there to hear them just afterwards, all right? So let's move on with, maybe we can start with you, Harry, if you agree. So let's be brief, let's be short, let's be to the point about this question, how and why to establish such a center of excellence for the creative economy.
Excellencies, distinguished participants and delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is the most difficult time of the day for me to keep us all awake and also I awake. I think this is most tough job for me. Anyway, I think it's our shared interest for this meeting to produce a concrete outcome in the form of document that reflect our commitment. As the second preparatory meeting of the WCCE, delegates discussed the notion of the establishment of Center of Excellence and International Cooperation for Creative Economy. The center would serve as a hub to pool resources. It would connect businesses in the sector, providing commercialization and monetization along the way. As financing and marketing remain among the biggest challenges raised by SME and startups in this sector, the center is expected to offer ways to means to help SME and startups addressing this issue. I would like to add especially resources. When we mean resources, it's the creators, the artists, the programmers, and also the entrepreneurs. So the resources, everything that run the business and what the creators. So I have two examples. Just this morning, we have just launched the official database of the Startup Digital of Indonesia. Yes, we have increased the number of startup of digital, but we have problems. We have lack of resource for programmers. So that's another resource that we need to build, to establish. I think we need more than, we need 1 million programmers, and at this time we have almost 1,000 startup digitals, and most startups are consist of 5 persons, and they are having difficulties in recruiting resources. That's in digitals. And the other subsectors, that is performing arts. We want a lot of talented people, dancers, script writers, scenarios writers, but lack of people who can run the performing arts. So we need talented people who can run as a business manager for those art performers, and we are very lack. Only a couple of those in Indonesia. Most are dancers and script writers. So we think we have to focus in each sector's different way. Closest to 93% of players in Indonesia creative are self-funded and have not received any outside funding, such as bank loans, limiting their potential growth. The establishment of center is expected to help addressing this issue by inter-area connecting the sectors. Excuse me. It's been noted by the previous speaker that intellectual property is, I think, the most important. I think intellectual property is the most valuable asset of any creative economy makers here. So whether it is the copyright, industrial design, patent, or trademark. Yeah, most of the creative industries valuation is based on the intellectual properties. Yeah. So in this, so I think data is one of the important things. If you want to make a center of excellence, we have to build on the data. And I think our mission, at least Backcraft mission, is to build the ecosystem, and that the ecosystem should have an accurate and lively data as a fundamental reference. Yeah. I think I said lively because the data keep changing. The creative output keep changing. And I would like also express that Backcraft would like very much to implement this data that contain of the creators, the copyright holders, what are the product and the services, into a technology what we call blockchain. Yeah? Having blockchains, so everyone can know who are exactly the copyright owner of the song, who are exactly the copyright of the program's computer, who are the copyright owner of a scenario and a film script. Because in the blockchain, it's a consensus agreement. And after that, we want to have that a smart contract in that. So when you want to distribute the royalties and how much that royalty owns to the copyright owners, this might be able in the blockchain by a technology called smart contract. So when everything is already done, the royalty will keep that. So we'll Backcraft will build a project called WIPO for that. Yeah. So, and I think Backcraft was the first institution in Indonesia that conduct the blockchain forum for non-crypto, not for the crypto, but for the creative industries, copyrights, patents, trademarks. So I personally believe that initiative should will come by all of us and would provide great opportunity to our respective constituents. As in other sectors, the growth of creative economy relies on strong international collaboration, which I called connect and collaborate. The center would provide us just that. It would promote stronger international cooperation that is vital for the creative economic growth. That's initiative which we all should support. I'm very a believer in a collaboration. So every state, every nation, every people should share and complement each other what the advantage on disadvantage of it. So if we can work together, we can create something new, more creative together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A question for you, and I will ask the same question to Sandra Negara just afterwards. Do you have yet any clear vision of the role that BECRAF could play in the establishment of this so-called Center of Excellence for the Creative Economy, or is it too early?
To be frankly, not yet. Yeah, we don't have. Well, BECRAF has just been here for 3 years, and what we concentrate now on building the ecosystem, but we don't go on a sequence base. Yeah, we follow that, and now I think we just realized. I also realized that we need to have a center of excellence where we pull our resources and whatever problems, so we can respect. I think we should build this together.
Okay, like a kind of facilitator. Let me also remind all of us that when we are talking about such a center, we are also talking about international cooperation, right? It's not an Indonesian-focused project just attracting just a little bit of foreign expertise. It's really, I would say, something that Indonesia puts on the table of global talks and global negotiations. And that means it's not just here to sit and listen, but really come to the table with proposals. The agenda is open. There is a tremendous energy, and there are foundations which have been laid. But I insist on the fact that it's really an open process. Okay. So thank you so much, Harry, for your comments. So I will now go to Sandra Negara, Director of External Affairs. So we are talking about external affairs. How do you view now the project of such a Center of Excellence for Creative Economy, and how could it boost international dialogue and international cooperation on creative economy?
Thank you, Nick, Mr. Moderator. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we've been working for quite a while, actually, on the idea of establishing a global center for excellence and international cooperation for creative economy. At least there are 3 developments that we take into consideration when we talk about this idea. The first one is the exponential growth of creative economy in the world and in many countries. You know, there are a wide range of activities and industry, from arts and craft, publishing, advertising, architecture, gaming, movies, R&D, visual arts, and many more. And they intersect many various sectors, from culture, economy, technology to social aspect. The second development is that we witness many countries around the world that have placed greater strategic importance in the creative industries and establishing respective national policies of collective international creative economy. We see that as a very encouraging factors. On the other hand, we also witness that until today, globally, there has yet to be a framework for international cooperation that can pull various countries' efforts in the creative economy as part of collective international cooperation. Those 3 developments stimulate us at the center, at the BECRAF, the Indonesian Agency for Creative Economy, as well as at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, on the idea of establishing a global center of excellence and international cooperation for creative economy. What we aim this center is to become a focal point in pooling resources, promoting research collaboration, data collection and analysis, capacity building, and enhancing partnership and collaboration between stakeholders. We have listed several objectives for this center that we would like to pursue. The first one is as a research and learning hub on creative economy. The second one is for Center for Building National Capacity. The third one is to support the development of effective programs. The fourth is fostering a global understanding of the benefit of creative economy. The fifth is share information and provide research and analysis. The sixth is conduct joint program and activities. And the last one is promote cooperation and collaboration on creative economy at the regional and international level. It looks so ambitious because we have so many objectives, but we try to make it a little bit simple on the activities of this center. We have three activities. The first one is research and generating information and statistics. The second one is information sharing, collaboration and partnership. And then the third one is capacity building and training. The discussion at our agency as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is that we fully realize the most significant challenge for the establishment of this kind of center is its sustainability. In this regard, we will try to do our best to ensure that the development of this center of excellence is part of a building block. We are still developing or discussing our modalities, and then we arrange many strategic and mechanism to ensure that its sustainability. That is why we, Indonesia, would like to invite, or we will be very happy if our partners, our friends of creative economy can provide us with their insights, ideas, or suggestion on how to have this kind of center to be established in Indonesia. I thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you so much. It's quite a list of priorities that you have mentioned. Just one question: if you were to consider that this would be the version number 0.0 of this Center of Excellence, this room, right, with all the talents and capacities, are there any specific target areas in terms of geography? I mean, are you considering Asia or Asia Pacific or Asia Africa, as it was mentioned, or other options to be a priority list to connect expertise and know-how about the creative economy?
Thank you. Well, if I may be frank here in this forum, the response, the attendance of the delegates from our partners, our friends of economy today is really exceed our expectations. We were aiming about 15 to 20 countries, but we have now around 47 countries. We can see how countries around the world respond to this kind of activity. Because we mentioned clearly on our term of reference when we sent out the invitation, the importance of having international cooperation and collaboration in creative economy. That is the first, Nick. The second one is that we have a very close consultation with our partners, our partners in the UN bodies. We have UNESCO, we have UNDP. We talk continuously with them on the promotion of creative economy. And it is to our surprise, actually, that the UN bodies, they have also shared the same interest in promotion of creative economy, especially to help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals because of its inclusivity. Those two things, we can see that the aim of our, the coverage of the center is a global center. We have not decided yet, to be honest, whether we will prioritize in our region or we will go across region. But this is a global center. And we will have a very close cooperation with our colleague in the region, of course, as well as in the United Nations. One thing that I'd like to share perhaps here, that in the first place of our process of having this meeting, we actually invited the founder of, or the writer of the Creative Economy book, Professor John Hawkins from UK. Our invitation was responded positively, but due to administrative procedure, he could not make it. He could not come to our conference. But to our surprise, last night he sent out a message to my email that first he congratulated us for having this meeting, and then he wished every success for our endeavors in promoting creative economy. That's really a big boost for us, a big push of having this kind of program to make our talk, our discussion into something concrete, something real that will bring benefits to all friends of creative economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for these very precise elements which clearly help to understand where we are standing now rather precisely. And this leads me to the next segment of our discussion with Marisa. Let me just say that if you consider the situation also maybe to nurture the discussion, there is a bill which is being considered right now in Indonesia, passing a law about creative economy, right? And you can see, we discussed with our colleague from Hungary this morning, she mentioned a number of legal bylaws also supporting creative economy. And in many countries worldwide, this is happening also in Latin America. I would say that we are nearly there by considering how to pass a resolution at the level of the UN to make the creative economy something that will be a lasting issue on the global agenda. And clearly that would be a strong, I would say, a strong priority. That could be a strong priority for the center. If you look also at how things go, I would say every year, every month, every week, there are global meetings, big or small, where also the topic of creative economy, as it is being researched here, could be included. Let's share the vision of UNCTAD about that, because when we're talking about creative economy, we're also talking about trade and commerce. And what is your view on such a center, Marisa, and are there any elements in the next months that we should take into account and that should not be missed in order to move on?
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the previous speakers. I think Hawkins is here in spirit, and I'm very, very happy that he answered. I'm sure he will read the summary of the meeting. Concerning the Creative Economy Center of Excellence, I think the way I see it, one way to see it is that you have a winning formula here, where the agency and creative economies is working together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and that's amazing. I think this is a very good combination, because it really, how countries could actually promote culture, not just simply, they also need the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to promote that. So I think that is a winning combination. The Center of Excellence, one way of seeing it is that it would be the place for the creators to feel, to have ownership, a place where creators could go and receive training, could go and receive support. We have developed in UNCTAD, you were mentioned about the micro enterprises. We developed with a colleague of mine, so the Creative Economy Program together with the Enterprise Program, we developed an incubator in a small town in Costa Rica, very, very small. Most of the enterprises, creative economies are one person or 1 to 5 people, okay? And we helped them we promoted the center, this incubator, as with a strong emphasis with enterprise content. So we provided training on how business models, that's very important, but adapted to the small region of, in this case, in Costa Rica. Obviously, the business models that were just too much for them. So we need to help small entrepreneurs, even sometimes with training on how to do the admin and how to start a business, how to analyze a business, whether the business could have some earnings. So I think the Center of Excellence, even if it is a small place, could provide the creators with a place where they could you could have a space for exposition, and also you could have a place where they could just have a show as well. So for them to showcase what they do, but at the same time to receive support and training. You will need, for example, this project we did in Costa Rica, we made sure that the center had the following expertise. So people who were in the center had expertise on how to create a business, how to manage a business, support like on tax issues, support on IP, on intellectual property. So if someone went there, one creator went there and said, I have this small enterprise, I need some help to see how do I go about getting money out of what I'm producing. So there also, I would suggest it could be a place for co-sharing. They are very, very fashionable now, particularly the startups, which are mainly dominated by millennials. They like to work together, and so it could have a space for co-working. So capacity building, training, and here comes it would be, I think it's very useful to have the center in the sense that it articulates the links with the local and the national. So even if you decide that this center is, I don't know, in Jakarta, but the center, if you are far away in a small island, you would be able to say, well, no, I have to call Jakarta, even though you can communicate now with digital economy, even though they're very far, but they know they have a place where they can relate. And also, what we did was we have linkages with the touristic destinations. So in every touristic destination, like in Bali, you would promote the center. Yeah? So people who come and want to know about the artists here will be able to go and see, what kind of music do you have? I mean, we know what kind of food, which is amazing. But what kind of textiles, and so it would be good for people who come also to learn through the creators. one thing we did in this incubator in Costa Rica, and I'm using this as a model because it was very, very successful. It was an area where there were a lot of poor people. It's a very small place, very isolated, but providing these things, we were able for them to flourish. So that's why I'm using this event. The other thing that you mentioned, the data, it is the case, and they mentioned this today several times, and it is so important to have data. At the national level, I think what maybe the center could do is to train people on how to do surveys. So you have people who will be collecting the information from the creators. So you will train people how to do surveys, yeah? And the center would help you because you will have a collaboration with them, but they have the contacts with the creators. So that's very, very important. So I do think this capacity building training, info sharing, I agree with all that, and I think it could be, even though it is a collaborative place, I think it will have more of an Indonesian focus, right? And an Indonesian promoting and helping, giving support to Indonesian creators.
And thank you very much for these comments. And in principle, on the global scale, would the establishment of such a center and the efforts that go with it is an initiative that could be supported one way or another by UNCTAD?
Yes, I mean, we've done it in different countries, and it's just not just my program, we do it with another program together, so we focus on entrepreneurship. But we also have expertise in on intellectual property, so we could bring that as well. So we could, it is something that needs to have different areas, so it cannot be just one of us. But yes, we could do this, yes.
Thank you very much. And I think Mr. and Mrs. Chair, with the S, this goes like with the a real recognition of the efforts that has been carried so far by Indonesia, and that's quite promising also for what may come next. We only have a few minutes left, but I know in other regions now countries are considering maybe joining the effort. In Latin America, in Colombia especially, there is a great attention, especially with the new president, to the orange economy, that is the creative economy. Maybe Colombia would like to share a few words about that.
Thank you, Nicolas. And first of all, thank you to the Big Graph team for inviting us today to join this event. And obviously, thank you to the speakers for today's enlightening us on creative economy. I think today I have learned a lot of not only of the opportunities, but also of the complexities that creative economy has. I'm glad you note that creative economy is on Colombia's foreign affairs policy agenda. Of course, for Colombia, creative economy is also called orange economy, and is a valuable development of opportunities in Latin America as well. And yes, in the future, Colombia has the purpose also, as well as Indonesia, and we would like that Indonesia share with us all this experience of organizing this big event, and maybe in the future we can join and doing something like you are doing, something which help all the business in the sector to enhance the culture and to move forward to get a welfare for everybody based on creative economy. That's all. I think we will approach Indonesia to understand how did they work this issue, and probably to work together. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. That's much appreciated. You've got a concrete offer. You should sit down and discuss in the bilateral meeting rooms and maybe launch the first WCCE Latin America conference next year, right? Okay, thank you very much. We have in mind also other possibilities. I've seen that in 2020, I don't think we have mentioned that this morning, but there will be the World Expo in Dubai, right? And the themes of the World Expo are about sustainability, mobility, and opportunity. And opportunities, when you look at the agenda, some elements are definitely rather in line with the agenda of the creative economy. And since we had around the table a number of representatives of this region, also it would make sense to consider how to include part of your agenda in that context. I know also we had a colleague from Malaysia, and then I will give you the floor. With a colleague from Malaysia, is she around?
Yeah, thank you, Nicholas. Hello. Yeah, my name is Evelyn. I'm from Malaysia, from Sabah, Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, Malaysia. And here I'm representing my organization, which is BIM IAGA, which is the Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysian, Philippines, the East Asian Growth Area. So currently, I'm the head or the chairperson for the Social, Cultural, and Education Cluster of Business Council. So I feel very grateful to be around and to be the member of Friends of Creative Economy. Yeah, as I mentioned to Nicholas just now, I said, like, is it possible for me to share our experience in the East Asian Growth Area on how we, on the Business Council side, we try to foster the growth of this creative economy. So I believe that some of you might have received the Creative IT Hub. So sharing, a little bit sharing from our side that the Creative IT Hub is originally started when we have the community, the creative community in gaming and also performing arts. And in particular for gaming, what we are doing the e-sport. E-sport, I believe that one of the industry that emerging industry that are picking up very well, and also the dancing community, especially featuring the contemporary ethnic dancing. So what we are doing, we are really into digitalize of dance competition, and our system perhaps could be the first that we have ever innovated. And also, moving forward on this, we are also looking forward to build the creative economy by digitalizing the creative contents. So our business council consists of players, and why we initiate the Creative IT Hub to cover the land area of 1.6 million square kilometer, and also for the 70 million people live in this region. So we start from Sabah, and we hope that through this Friends of Creative Economy, this is also the WCCE is also as a platform for communication, as a platform for networking, that we could bring all these industry players, especially creative industry player, to another level. And we also joining those members to check out our website. And yeah, we also welcome any feedback from you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this is another offer that you have. Clearly the private sector is interested to be involved, and clearly the process of just saying that this center might be established is catalytic, right, in a positive way. Maybe one last comment from Paolo from the Philippines, and then we will wrap up our session.
Yes, thank you, Nicola. I'd like to personally contribute to the creation of such a center there are two experiences that I can, let's say, help contribute with. The first one is my experience with the Berlin School of Creative Leadership. This is a program that was established in 2007. It's based in Berlin. And it's an executive MBA program designed for helping creative leaders learn to manage, and on the other hand, helping traditional managers learn how to manage creativity. So it's a very, very good program, and I'd be happy to share whatever insights I can on how that program was designed. The second one is I'm actually in the process of setting up, together with the Asian Institute of Management in Manila, a similar program on creative leadership and creative economy. And we do have some expert resources from across the world, which are still confidential at the moment, but definitely there's a lot to share on that, and I'm more than willing to collaborate. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So you can see it was not like heavily prepared, these, but spontaneously you've got offers from countries, you've got offers from the private sector, offers from the research and the academia, and I think this is a very good illustration of how the process could be shaped in the next months, like gathering such support. One last comment from myself, having heard all the speakers, is that we are talking about a center, right? But in a multipolar environment or multilateral environment, there can be also multiple centers. So there should be a center, but it should be networked, right? Immediately. And you should consider many options, maybe not just having centers, but festivals are also great places to boost creative economy. I'm thinking just here about a festival, for example, in Germany, the largest jazz festival in the city of Mannheim, drags over 20,000 people on 2 months, and it's a place for diplomatic negotiations about trade and commerce and the SDGs and etc. And this should be easily replicated the world over, meaning now that, Mr. and Madam Chair, the floor is yours, and I think we have managed to dig in a number of opportunities and share those with you. Hopefully, this can be a part of a positive agenda for the weeks and months to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. Thank you very much for leading a very important and very pertinent issue. You know, because in terms of the gathering, international gathering like this, international cooperation is one aspect which is very important. I agree with the earlier part of your remarks during this, when you start this discussion, that I think the backbone of how we're going to move forward this cooperation is by discussing about this international cooperation. If allow me to share some of these thoughts that after I'm listening carefully to what we discussed. The challenge of every international gathering is sustainability. I agree with my colleague Chandra mentioning that. And one of the issue of how to face the sustainability, or how for us to be able to get the sustainability, is through creating the so-called institutional infrastructure. I think the possible creation of Center of Excellence can be seen as one of our efforts in trying to come up with the so-called institutional infrastructure. From my point of view, this infrastructure can be served as a hub in connecting the dot between the activities that many countries try to organize, any activities with regard to the creative economy. So I think it's quite pertinent for us to be able to get this momentum, to use this momentum as a springboard for us to be able to move forward with our cooperation in this particular issue. The idea of having a Center of Excellence it's quite in line with the situation that we need now. And of course, since many things will be come up in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and I think it's most important for us to be able to deal with all of the progress. And I think it will be good for us if we have one center that can accommodate the potential cooperation among the countries. And if if there is the case, that I think that is my note for this discussion. And of course, I would like to return the chair to my co-chair, Ibu Endah, to continue with the next agenda item. Bu Endah, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Febri, my colleague from Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now I would like to move to our next agenda on Bali Declaration on Creative Economy. I believe this is the last but not least. May I invite Dr. Marisa Henderson from UNTAP to give her intervention on this agenda item. I believe she already have the draft of the declaration. This last session only, including the wrap-up, only 30 minutes, so we have to be very concise. Thank you.
Okay, so we start the last session, right? Okay. So I think everybody has the declaration with you. Yes? Okay, so this is a draft, and what we would like to achieve in this session, I think, is gather as much feedback as possible so as we can guide the conference tomorrow, the ministers and the high-level people tomorrow, to what we can change. This is just a draft. So I think the declaration is very powerful. It is a deliverable from a conference, and it's something that we, people who go at the conference, then come out and say, well, I participated, and this is the outcome of the conference. And I think they're very useful.